what were some things that maybe you didn't expect or were just different in that underwriting? Like accounting for turnover. I know like I did the same thing. I bought a 6 unit pretty early, and there's the turnover cost I underestimated, right? Like it was not a big deal, but it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna have to turn this over and we're gonna have to pay and blah, blah, blah. So what were some things that maybe some gotchas for our listeners who are doing what you did? They're on a house hack and now they're looking at an 8 unit.
So I would say actually we got very lucky with this building. So we haven't had to deal with much turnover so far. We did lease up additional space. The basements are vacant and can be built out to additional units. We lucked out there. We actually had a very experienced investor come with us during the inspection and was pointing out items that on a larger building that we should worry about. The roofing costs are going to be 2-3 times. Exterior maintenance is going to be a little bit different. So moving from a 3 unit to a 6 unit, I wouldn't say is that difficult because it was also forced air in each unit. Again, like I said, we really lucked out with the building that we got. But now that we're scaling into larger buildings and have seen a multitude of other buildings through different partnerships, that's where really we've lent a lot of experience, gained a lot of knowledge rather through a lot of other experienced investors when it comes to water bills, boiler costs, boiler maintenance, gas, certain items that can't be billed back that the owner has to eat those expenses, and that drastically changed the analysis or underwriting of buildings. So
one thing I will say on a smaller scale though that did get us is the HUD, like costs that go along with HUD tenants. And so we didn't necessarily account for those small things that add up when you're doing a HUD inspection. And that did get us because there was one item on a particular inspection that had to do with our backyard, and they said it wasn't level enough. And so we had to actually go and level. We don't have, it's not a paved backyard. It has gravel. And so we had to go and dump a bunch more gravel and level that out. But that ended up being a huge expense that we didn't think would come along with a HUD inspection.
Yeah, I think a lot of people underestimate the Section 8 expenses sometimes. We have a six flat on not far from your building there, Washington Park, that first floor tenant on the right-hand side for their inspection, the top right rafter of the building, 3 floors up, there's a hole in there that to pass their inspection, we had to get someone out to do a repair on the soffit way up there. So some of those things are definitely underestimated. Garbage is another thing that when you go when you get above 4 units, you now have to privately contract that a lot of people don't account for. And I think the other thing that people underestimate is common area cleaning in the bigger buildings. I think when you have 2 or 3 tenants, usually you can almost maybe even put one in charge in a way and really limit your costs. But when you have 6 and a lot more traffic and you have to be cleaning it a lot more often.
One thing I will say about garbage too is it's not always necessarily your property that adds to the garbage expense. It can be your neighbors. And that's something we learned the hard way. We had new neighbors move into this specific property, and the fly dumping to this day has been an issue. And it's not only caused us to receive fines, but it's impacted how many times a week and how big our dumpster has to be, which has increased our costs. Because instead of, continuously sending letters from our lawyer, we wanted to make sure that our garbage situation was set up so we're not getting the fines from the city, because those can add up too. Even if it's not your tenants, like you're still going to get in trouble unless you have cameras from every angle showing it's not your tenants doing the fly dumping.
So you could probably confirm this, but for a 6 flat, I know for us, we usually tell people a 2-yard dumpster twice a week for pickups, usually about 140 or so a month. Is that what you guys are doing there?
That or with COVID, we actually increased the size of our dumpster because everyone is at home right now, and it has doubled the garbage. I think everyone too is just doing spring cleaning like every day. That's what it looks like in our garbage area because it's just always full.